Hello everyone, you're watching Newcastle United Life and Times YouTube channel. My name's Rob, and on today's show I'm joined by Paul, Len and Owen. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Right, we'll briefly touch on the PSG game. I don't think we can say anything that hasn't already been said. Shocking decision, disgraceful decision, fantastic performance from Newcastle. Len, what was your take on it?
Not much more than that, really. I think it sticks in your mind, like what a great performance it was. So closely followed after the Chelsea result. So it was a thoroughly enjoyable game. And, when that penalty looked like it was going to be awarded, I thought, oh, thank God for VAR. Because I thought, thank God, because it means, obviously, they'll look at it and it won't be a penalty. Little did I know they'd look at it and look at it and look at it again. And then they actually gave the penalty. I couldn't believe it. So disappointing. The only consolation, I suppose, is that going into the game, if you'd asked most supporters, they would have settled for a 1-1 draw, and they did have plenty of chances. So, now that everything's calmed down a little bit, it's a good result. We're still in the competition and onwards and upwards.
Yeah. Paul?
Oh, I was fucking livid, mate. Honestly, when they got that penalty, I couldn't believe it. We'd done so well, though. We're like 11 men. And I think if we'd been able to freshen it up, I think we could have got a second. Because I know early on in the second half, when Isak went through, I thought, just pull the trigger. And he just delayed it and tried to pass it back, didn't he? But I wouldn't say we're out of it just yet, because they haven't won an away game yet, have they? So, in the Champions League. So, and they're quite open that they've got to go for it. And at least Dortmund's, they've still got to avoid defeat, having the Dortmund to top the group. So I still think it's all to play for. But just a fantastic performance, I thought, on the back of just having like 11 fit players, really, and a bunch of kids on the bench. We couldn't really change it, but we're still in it. That's the main thing, isn't it?
It's not over the fat lady sings. Owen, what was your take on there the other night?
But very little to add, to be honest with you, Rob. I mean, obviously, just to sum up what Len and Anders they said, it was, in terms of the penalty, it was. I think for me, what happened is that the ref had he'd been to the monitor twice. No, he hadn't been to the monitor. Sorry, he got a call from VAR about two previous decisions, and he overturned them both. And he said that neither were a penalty. And I just think he's buggled. I think that he's thinking that it's the third one. If I don't give this, it'll look crap. But he should have stuck by his guns. I mean, you just have to look at the punditry. McCoy's, Jennings, I think even Ferdinand, who's he's anti-Newcastle at the best of times. They were saying that there's no way that was a penalty. So, but can't be too despondent. I think Kieran Trippier hit the nail on the head when he said that, what can you do when it's 16 against 11? And they had 16 players, PSG, because obviously they made the 5 subs and we didn't, and that told. I think Isak was sort of dead on his feet the last 15 or 20. In fact, I don't think he moved from the centre circle. You could tell he was flagging, So, but like the lads have said, obviously we've got to go into the last game, the last round of games where there's something to play for. And if you had said at the beginning of the campaign, would you be happy with that, where, we've got something to play for come the last game, that you still qualify for both, i.e. the Champions League, it's in your hands to qualify for Europa, then I would have took that, to be fair. So yeah, there'll be a few twists and turns, no doubt. But yeah, I'm confident against Milan at home. We just have to hope that the other result goes away and either draw or Dortmund win, But yeah, still positive about it.
Right, news.
It was quite telling, really. Sorry. It was quite telling, really, that for the first time I can ever remember, although I do watch the match with black and white eyes, obviously, like we all do, but it's the first time I can ever remember a big sporting event or a football match like that where every single pundit, supporter, player, every single person to a man did not think that was a penalty. And subsequently, the following day, was removed from his duties the following night on VAR. And I've never really seen that before. There's always been two sides to the story. On this particular case, there wasn't, so we can confidently say that was not a penalty, and that's it.
What got me, though, the thing that got me on the penalty, being so strong all that time, that referee, and he was a World Cup final referee, I believe, or one of the best in the world. And then at the end, they only showed him one angle on that VAR. They meant to show 3 or 4. They showed him the one angle where it didn't look like it had hit his chest. It just had hit his arm.
Right,
you can actually see him. He was actually shaking his head. I'm sure he was shaking his head, going, I didn't think it was. And they're going, you've got to give it. We've got to get it alive.
Right, just before we move on to last night's incredible performance, news emerged today that, by the way, what's everyone doing on the first weekend of January?
Getting excited about going through the
what a draw.
FA Cup, I think.
What a draw that is. Oh, dear me.
We've got a gig, believe it or not, Rob. We've got the Paul Len and the 6th, so I'm kind of hoping to move the gig to the 7th. Sorry, they moved the game to the 7th because that'd be a nightmare. That like on the to keep it the 6th, but we'll see.
Well, we'll have to arrange a night out or go out for that game. Like, definitely. I mean, it's a massive game.
There's a good 6 or 7 different times it could be though.
I know.
BBC have it. There's loads of. I hope it's not early on a Saturday. Like that would be a worst nightmare for us. We work.
Yeah. I think they might do for the crowd trouble. You know, they might just get an early kick so people aren't on
as long as it's Sunday. As long as it's Sunday, not the Saturday.
Yeah, but what a draw!
You're right what you say, Rob. Though I was listening to the draw, like many people, a bit caught unawares of the FA Cup draw today, not realising it was on, and I just had Talk Sport on. These big clubs were getting drawn out. It was Arsenal, and then Liverpool were playing Arsenal. I thought, oh, great, that's 2 big teams out of the way. And then Spurs came out. I thought, well, we're bound to be away to Spurs. And then Sunderland came out, and I just couldn't believe it when Newcastle United were the next out, because what a fantastic, memorable season this is going to be for all the right reasons when it comes to all, whether it's the league, the cup competitions. And we've got a great opportunity, don't forget, obviously, to thrash them at their place and go through the next round.
Yeah.
See, I'm in the minority. I don't want it. I don't ever want the derby. Like I hate the day. It's like it's just not for me. And the problem we've got is that, of course, we're a stronger team, but it's sandwiched between the Liverpool and the Man City games in the league. And if we beat Chelsea in the League Cup semi-final is the midweek after the FA Cup game. So those games are coming thick and fast. And you know, it's at the end of the day, on paper, we shouldn't worry about it, but it's one game, isn't it? And anything can happen in one game. That's the only concern I have. But
the thing is, though, and I think we'll have a lot of the ball against the Mackems. Will not be doing too much energy chasing the boot. We should have a lot of the ball against them being the superior side. I know it's a bit frantic being a derby and that, but once we settle into the game, I cannot see anything else except the massacre, really.
Actually, I think what Owen's saying is how I would have felt up until a couple of years ago. I would have felt exactly the same way as Owen, but I do think we've moved on, and I think the gap between us and our mentality, the players, the squad, the management, everything is completely different to what it was in past time. And I think the gap is massive now between us and Sunderland. And I'm probably a bit like you, Paul. I think there'll be enough there for to go through fairly comfortably, but there'll always be reservations, and it'll be a very nervous day, no doubt.
Right, excellent, guys. Right, moving on to last night. The away club from the North won, Manchester United 0. And for me, it was probably one of the best performances under Eddie Howe. It was absolutely brilliant, sensational. Owen, what was your take on the game?
Yeah, I thought we're excellent. I thought we're, from the get-go, we were the sort of the team that was more alive, the team that was more hungry. We wanted it more, and it was just apparent. Even after 5 minutes, you could tell. I think that they were on the back foot. That's the first time I've seen them, Manchester United, come to St James's and park the bus from the off. And that is testament to the gap, because I think we're a better side than them. I really do. I know that you could argue they've got better individual players, but in terms of a football side, then I just think that we're ahead of them. In terms of performances, I mean, I'll come to Pope, because I think that's a massive blow for us. And in terms of Pope getting injured, because if it's right what they're saying, and it's a shoulder injury for a keeper, that's a bad one. So that could be him pretty much out for the season. Now I know we've got capable goalkeepers to come in, Dubravka and Karius, but I just think particularly Pope's performance in Paris on Tuesday just shows what an excellent shot stopper he is. But I don't want to. That was the only downside of the game, and it would it be a Newcastle game this season without getting an injury? Probably not. So that's the downside to it. But in terms of performances, again, sure, brilliant. Lascelles. In fact, you could go through every single player. I thought that every single player was fantastic. Livramento, who up until sort of 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had reservations whether he could play left back. We knew he was a good player, but to put on these levels of performances in full back when he's not a natural left footer, it's ridiculous how high his levels are. And I know I keep harping on, I'm going to say it, but Bruno is just, when he's on his game, Newcastle are just, they're a beast of a team. Joe Linton, fantastic. Miley, you would have thought Miley's played 150 games for Newcastle, not just sort of a handful, 4 or 5. He's so composed, so relaxed. And, it's not, in terms of him itself, I think a lot of the times we get carried away, don't we? We're having the past where like a young one comes through, particularly a local lad, and you think, oh, they're going to be an excellent player. I know Anderson, you know, you could argue that he was probably the last one, and Anderson is a good player. But there's just something about Miley. Just when you watch him, you think, you know, he's going to be a special player. And I think he looks like Michael Carrick. I think he plays like him. I think his temperament's like him. He just looks calm, composed. He always looks like he's got room on the ball and stuff like that. And he just fits into the team perfectly. His excellence, I thought he led the line. He was almost playing that false 9 position where he was dropping off and coming into a number 10 role. And they were just all over the shop. They couldn't handle it, couldn't cope with it. When they scored, and I know it was ruled out, it sort of, my heart was in my mouth because I thought, you know, we didn't deserve the penalty on Tuesday. And we certainly didn't deserve for Man United to get anything from that game. But yeah, and Gordon, lastly, the goal scorer, you know, his levels are superb. He's got the winner, which is great. But overall, like I say, just a top class performance. You know, 8, 9, 10 performances from every single player.
Yeah, excellent. Paul?
I think Owen summed it up pretty well there. I think we had a load of chances in the first half. You just, when you get to half time, you think, well, we should have took one of these chances because they'll have one chance and they'll score from it. And they didn't deserve anything from that game. I thought they were second best all over the shop. Joe Linton, Bruno, Miley in midfield were bullied their midfield. I mean, that young 18-year-old didn't know what day it was, did he? That Menu or whatever he's called. They were being raving about him. The two, I think the main difference was the two wingers. Our wingers actually tracked back. That Livramento and fantastic. That amount of times he got in down that left side and Rashford just stopped.
Yeah.
He didn't even bother tracking him back. Garnacho, yes, like they were saying on Match of the Day, it's all good and rosy when they're winning, they want the ball and all this, but when they're losing, they don't want to know, half of them. But I thought, all in all, it was a fantastic performance. And you could see a goal coming early second half because the pressure was building again. And the little move for the goal was brilliant. Wan-Bissaka switched off. Garnacho switched off. Trippier got in, lovely little ball. And Gordon, he's starting to add goals to his game now, isn't he? I mean, his general play was brilliant, and now he's starting to add goals. I think that's 4 home games in a row he's scored now or something.
Yeah.
So he's doing. I was like, Isak was dragging the 2 centre halves. They didn't know where to pick him up. He was getting deeper and deeper, holding the ball. I mean, there was a couple of times he done Maguire. You think, Jesus, how did he do that? Actually, I thought Maguire and Shaw, if it hadn't been for them two, they would have been murdered yesterday. I didn't often say that about Maguire. But I just thought it was a fantastic performance. And like Owen said as well, if they had a score at the end, it was a travesty. Because my heart was in my mouth. Especially because I had 137 quid riding on it. I nearly shit myself when that went in. But I thought it was a brilliant win. And so I think we brought Richie on at the end. That was the first substitution in 190 minutes, they were saying, when he came on. So he's doing brilliant. But apparently next week, I think it's I was back. Wilson and Longstaff resumed training this week. And I think Barnes and Botman are later on in the week, going into the week after. So that could be potentially 4 players back in the next couple of weeks, which we're going to need. I hope it's all right about Gordon, because I said he was carrying a slight hip injury when he went off. But I think that just could be kidology going into Everton on Thursday, because we need him.
Yeah. Excellent. Len?
Well, I see the match from a slightly different perspective, as I was in the Phoenix Theatre in Blythe with my wife and 2 granddaughters watching Dick Whittington. Luckily, I got home just in time to settle down for the second half, and I looked at the stats from the first half, and I couldn't quite believe it at 0-0 that it was still 0-0. So, everything seemed to be, we had 60% possession, we had all the shots on and off target, all the corners, absolutely everything. And I thought, great. But was really, should we not be 1 or 2-0 up? And I think from looking at the highlights on Match of the Day, maybe we should have. But second half, the big thing that struck me in the second half is that Man United weren't bothered. Newcastle United were excellent, were first to every single ball. Rashford, as Paul says there was once, I don't know who it was, but there was once he lost the ball to somebody and he literally just stood still. In the game, the game just carried on. He didn't bother chasing, and I think a number of times when I've watched the highlights, him and 1 or 2 others were guilty of that. And if I was Man United's manager, well, I think looking at the interview at the end of the match, Ten Hag was absolutely furious afterwards with the performance. I think in general was absolute disgrace to a red shirt. I think I think it was a poor performance by them, but that's not to take away from the fact of what a great performance it was from every single player. It's probably the third game in a row where we've played the same 11. And, you know, Gordon to score, I think it's, as you say, it's his fourth. What were you saying there, Paul? His fourth
home game in a row he scored, some big
yeah,
goals
which is about
as well.
10 years, I think, since somebody did that. According to what yeah, he looks an outstanding player, and for many years he'll be a great player in a black and white shirt. And I think it's the first time back-to-back wins versus Man United since 1972. So, you know, a fantastic performance, a great result. You know, what's that? Chelsea 4-1, PSG 1-1, and then 1-0 against Man United, all in the space of little over a week.
Incredible.
So happy days.
With the same 11.
Yeah, incredible.
Same 11.
Incredible.
You know, we haven't got a substitute to bring on. I mean, the players are just fantastic. I mean, what was Trippier like? I mean, Trippier was absolutely amazing. Yet again, we talked about him a couple of months ago about is he the best right back? And I think I said he's possibly one of the best players ever we've had at Newcastle United. And you just look at him yesterday, and he's so fit. You know, that free kick he had that hit the bar. Anyway, I've run out of things to say about Newcastle United because it just seems to get better and better. And you just think when we get a few players back, what is it going to be like when we've got 3 or 4 options from the bench, and then you've got the January transfer window as well. So we're sitting pretty in 5th or 6th in the league as you know, as we are now. Absolutely brilliant.
Excellent. Right.
Just
sorry,
Rob. I was just going to say on Trippier, it's one player I didn't mention actually, and that's probably because the expectation for him to like have an excellent game is just like, well, it is expected, isn't it? You just because he keeps churning them out.
Class.
You know,
Class.
He was unbelievable last night, and I know that Bruno was man of the match, but Trippier, you know, probably on par with him, if not a little bit behind him in terms of the man of the match. But you know, just everything about him. There's times like the ball comes through and he takes it down with a Cruyff turn where, you know,
touch is brilliant. He's touch.
Our right backs years gone by, they would have shinned it out or something like that. You know, this is the type of player that we're dealing with now. You know, and he brings out the best in everyone else as well. It's just, you know, if you talk about Newcastle's best pound for pound signing in my era is Rob Lee. You know, it was 900,000, wasn't it? We got for Lee back in the 90s. But you know, if Trippier, if he stays fit another 1 or 2 seasons, then you know,
plus
if we're going to win something, then you know, I think you take over that mantle in terms of being the best pound for pound signing that we've had. You know, he's such an excellent player, like really, really good player.
Yep. Right, chaps. So Thursday we'll rock over to Everton with a 7:30 kickoff. I'm not sure about their injuries or who's missing for them or whatever, but
Calvert-Lewin was missing yesterday, but he might be back for Thursday.
How would you see this one going? We'll start with you, Paul.
Everton. Oh God, if it's anything like last season when we routed them, it'll be fantastic. I still don't think they're a good side like Everton when you watch them. I think we'll definitely get at them. Like, and it just depends. If I don't even think we'll be able to jiggle it, though, will we? We'll just have to go with the same 11.
Pretty much,
possibly. Like I said, Wilson or Longstaff, one of them might be on the bench. Obviously, Dubravka will be back. So, the only good thing about that will be the kicking will be a bit better, won't it, when he's distribution. But I think we should still have too much for Everton. Like I would think. I mean, if Man U went and won their 3-0, God, and they're crap. You know, we should. I think we should beat Everton. I think we'll beat them.
Are you going to give a score prediction then?
Everton, yeah, I'm going to go 3-0.
3-0. I like it. Then.
Yeah, I think, again, I agree with Paul as far as I think we'll win the game. I don't think it's going to be that easy. I think they have got a bit of form. They might not be good to watch, but they're difficult to beat.
They've won the last 3 away, Len, but I don't know about the home. The home form's not the best.
Well, I know, yeah, I'm not too sure. I think they've won. They've only lost 1 in the last 5 in all competitions. I was looking at that, but you know, I think they've got a point to prove, or 10 points to prove. In fact, if you add the 10 points on, they're comfortably mid-table, which is where you'd expect Everton to be at this current time. I think it'll be a tough game, but I would, you know, if I was looking towards a prediction, I can't really see them scoring against us. I think just very quickly on the Dubravka situation, I do believe Nick Pope is the superior keeper, but I must admit I'm not that devastated, you know, providing it's not too serious, because I think Dubravka, he's better at certain things, as you say, Paul, than Pope. I think Pope is the better keeper, but I think Dubravka is a safe pair of hands. So I think we'll go down there, to Goodison. I think we'll come back with a 2-0 win.
Yeah, good.
Breaking news: Liverpool are getting beat at home.
Get in.
Gets better. I'm with Len. I think it'll be a tougher game. I just think that I think I read this morning, if they hadn't got the 10-point deduction, they'd be above Chelsea in the league. So, and I know that we're hammered Chelsea. And I think the game against Man United the other week, when Everton got beat 3-0, I think that's the stats. If you look at that,
3 each. Oh, bugger. Bollocks.
The reflection of Everton's game against Man United, I think they had 16 shots against Man United and didn't score. So, and Dyche he's probably stabilised them a little bit. I think that's even though they've got the 10-point deduction, I still think that they'll stay up. They'll stay up at the canter because there's definitely 3 or 4 worse teams than Everton. So I think it'll be a tough one. I think in terms of score prediction, I think 1-0. I think it'll be a tight game. I just think that, particularly because we haven't got players coming back. If it's the case, I know there's extra rest now, isn't there, compared to what we're playing on like Saturday to Tuesday or Wednesday. So I still think we've got enough. We're going to go there full of confidence, and I still think we'll win the game, but I think it'll be tight. I think we'll pinch it 1-0. Just on the Pope thing, though, I know I mentioned it in the introduction to the Man United game, but I agree, Len. I think that Dubravka does have his qualities. And he definitely is a better kicker of the ball. I won't argue that, but I just think in terms of handling, Nick Pope, he seems, when teams shoot against Newcastle, Pope has the knack of he seems to have soft hands where he never spills anything. Everything comes into his chest, and whereas Dubravka, I think he's a little bit more harder-handed, where there's always sometimes an error in him, and that's my only concern. But that said, I can't be picky. I'm being pedantic there because he still is he's a good goalkeeper, and he's a good goalkeeper to have as an understudy. So yeah, it's bad news about Pope, but you're right. I think if it was an outfield player, I'd be even more devastated because you're thinking how many more we've got out. I mean, so we can probably
exactly.
If we're all going to have an injured player, then you could probably cope with a goalkeeper. So
I think that's what I was thinking at the time. I thought, right, thank God it's the keeper. And hopefully, as Paul said earlier on in the show, we're going to get a couple of players back for Thursday and a couple of players back for Sunday. So you hope that you can maybe live with a little bit of bad luck on the keeper front, but hopefully a little bit good luck on a couple of outfield players coming back.
Right, excellent. Well, I'm going to go 2-1. I think it will be a tight game. I think they'll be quite physical, but I'm sure we can handle that. And 2-1 for me. So, yeah, right, okay. Anything else, chaps?
Nope.
Anything else you want to touch on?
I think that's it, yeah. Been a good weekend up and now with the results.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So do you know the predictions for Paris? Did Rob, was it you or Len that went 1-1?
I took 1-1. But I mean,
but I don't like to talk about it though.
It means nothing. It means nothing after watching the game. I just thought we should have been sitting here talking about a win. But it is what it is. It's I mean, they've got to get these VAR decisions. Honestly, man, it's just so infuriating.
That could cost us about £20 million.
Well, that's exactly. Yeah, there's really too much money in the game. There's too much money in the game now for these stupid decisions.
Well, Rob, a few people have said to me, and we've probably said it amongst ourselves on the show, VAR will cost a club. And I think we've generally spoken about promotion or relegation or cup ties, where it's knockout competitions, where it's going to cost a club a lot of money. And it could be that, as you say, Rob, we're going to look back on that one decision that potentially could knock us out of the competition. Whereas we would have gone through, and that's a lot of money, and it's a significant decision to make that costs us, a place in the next stage of the competition. But having said that, we've still got Milan to look forward to, so we don't want to be too down about it.
No.
I think we will beat Milan at home. I do think we will beat them. Yeah. So,
am I right in thinking as well? If they draw 1s each with us, we finish bottom of the group because they've had a better. I'm sure someone said it because we drew 0-0 there on the head-to-head. If they draw 1s each, they'll go above and take the UEFA spot.
You might be right. You might
go on goal difference.
There's quite a few permutations, though, isn't there? Depending on which way you look at it. I think all we've got to do is go out and beat Milan, and then go home and see what that really means to us at the end of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not goal difference, Anders. Is that right?
Someone was saying it goes on head-to-head, and they were 1s each. They have scored, so they would get the. I thought it would have went on goal difference if your games are both draws. But apparently it doesn't.
Right, lads, great having you on the show, and we'll be back through the weeks, probably Friday to review the Everton game. Is everyone available Friday?
Yeah.
Good? Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Right, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of myself and the lads, we'll see you all next time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye now.
Oh, I didn't